Football therapy. Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I do hope you are all doing well today. I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, the daily series right here on Football Therapy, where I go across football news media, see what's being said about the Blues, consolidate it into one package for you, giving you my opinion, but hey, more importantly, asking for yours. That's the line. Three things I want to talk about today. Marc Guehi being reported on in The Athletic. Chelsea are closely looking at our young centre-half and considering bringing him in sooner rather than later into the first team. Petr Cech is playing for the development squad. Competitive goalkeeping football. Goalkeeping football? You know what I'm saying? And I want to reiterate Chelsea's theory about maybe Petr Cech becoming Chelsea's number 2. And also, I want to talk about Kai Havertz, his poor performance, and what the media are saying about him and what fans are saying about him. I'm delighted to say that Chelsea News is brought to you by OneFootball. Ding ding ding, the one place you can get all your football statistics, news, lineups, fixtures, everything you'll ever need for completely free. That's right, completely free. You can set up for match alerts for Chelsea or your international team and never ever miss a beat when it comes to the beautiful game. Check out OneFootball by clicking in the link in the top of the description. Do it now. Alright then, let's get into today's video. Right, let's start with Marc Guehi, Chelsea's young centre-half with the beautiful left boot that apparently everyone wants when it comes to a centre-back. David Ornstein of The Athletic wrote in his column today, with the assistance of Chelsea reporter Simon Johnston, that Chelsea are very, very impressed with Guehi's progress at Swansea already, being an integral part of the first team, and Chelsea are looking around at all their multiple young centre-halves who are highly rated. They're looking at Guehi and thinking, you know what? He could be the one. He could be the next one from the academy. You got your Mason Mounts, you had Hudson-Odois, Tammy Abrahams, Reece James. It goes on. He could be the next one to bring into the first team setup, the first team bubble, to train, and you know, the one that could be the next big thing in this Chelsea team. Now, Guehi has been highly rated for a long time. He's actually made his debut for Frank Lampard's Chelsea last season, obviously gone on loan and impressed, and Chelsea is seriously considering bringing him back, and he could be that left-footed centre-half that plays at the highest level in this Chelsea Football Club team. After his season-long loan at Swansea expires, he'll have 12 months left on his Chelsea contract, but Chelsea have the ability to trigger an extension for a further 12 months after that, and you can bet your bottom dollar they will, and most probably get him to sign a new contract extension with Chelsea, especially if he's the future of the Blues defence. Alright then, let's move on to the next story, which is exciting and quite funny in my opinion. Look mate, if Big Pete's happy, I'm happy. Don't know why I said it in that voice. John Terry isn't a Cockney gangster. Right, so Petr Cech is playing competitive football for Chelsea today. End. Now, I'll caveat with he is playing for the development squad against Tottenham, and it's pretty exciting. Basically what's happening is they've got a young goalkeeper who would end up playing twice in 48 hours. Chelsea don't want that. Chelsea first team actually train one of the youngsters, but he's in the first team bubble, so he can't go and jump into the development squad and play. Therefore, Petr Cech, who's been training by himself, sort of in isolation, he can go and play in goal for the development squad. Now, this will be the first competitive game Petr Cech has played since being in goal in the Europa League Final for Arsenal. Of course, he shipped 4 goals to Chelsea in that game. But if you remember, he was probably Arsenal's best player. And remember, you know, all the sort of Arsenal furore when they found out, or it was leaked prior, that Petr Cech was to become Chelsea's technical director. They were like, you can't start him now, it's a farce, you can't put him in goal. Even though they conceded 4, he was probably their best player on the day, so you know, he's still got it in many ways. Anyway, he's been training recently, now he's going to play a game today. The Chelsea fans, and to be honest, a lot of football fans and people around football media will be very keen to see how he does, because it's oozing with narrative and feeds back into my conspiracy theory, which is, of course, Petr Cech is younger than Willy Caballero, Chelsea's other goalkeeper. I mean, who's the number 2 at the moment? Kepa, really. Chelsea are really interested in getting Kepa Arrizabalaga a January loan to go and play first team football for probably a Spanish side and become the number 1, be a number 1 somewhere to regain his confidence and obviously regain his value as a Chelsea asset. So, if Kepa Arrizabalaga does that, if Chelsea can get him a loan, he achieves his, first team spot, and happy ever after for Kepa, because we'd probably sell him, maybe bring him back as a number 2 or fight for number 1, but probably sell him. If he goes in January, what does that mean? Caballero's number 2, Petr Cech's number 3. I actually personally think Petr Cech will become Chelsea's number 2, which is incredibly exciting. Mendy will play probably like 75, 80%, 90% of games, but maybe in the odd FA Cup game, like maybe against Morecambe, maybe? Petr Cech can play. Obviously he knows Mendy very, very well. They're both from Round, they both speak French, and there's a relationship there, and Petr Cech's still relatively highly rated. I mean, he's still Petr Cech, younger than Caballero, he's Petr Cech. I mean, that could be a number 2 for Chelsea right now, right? Well, surely. Anyway, it's incredibly exciting. We'll have to watch this space. It's a theory I came up with as soon as Chelsea announced Petr Cech was in the Premier League squad. And as this story gains momentum, Kepa perhaps likely to go out on loan, Petr Cech playing competitive football for the development squad, this conspiracy theory of mine is coming closer to pass, and I hope it does because it's exciting. Anyway, I'll keep you guys updated on what happens there, so make sure you keep it locked to Football Therapy, subscribed with, the button pressed and all that. And let's move on to the next story and talk a little bit about Kai Havertz. Right, so Havertz had a poor to terrible game, in my opinion, against Everton at Goodison Park last time out. Now, before we get into that a little bit more, let me offer the disclaimers and caveats, because it's really important to note he was playing out of position. Yes, we know he's a versatile player. He's playing out of position. He did not have a pre-season at Chelsea Football Club, and he also contracted the virus and had really bad symptoms, unlike some other people who got it and tested positive. So he was really, really ill, and apparently it's super hard to come back into fitness after that because it affects your lungs and your breathing so much. So really, you got to offer a lot of caveats in that. Yes, Hakim Ziyech, and even, Timo Werner, who's been wobbly at times, have started better than him, but they're all quite a lot older than him. Kai Havertz is only 21 years old. But after a generally fairly underwhelming start at Chelsea and a poor performance away at Everton, the media have come for him. It's big criticisms for Chelsea's record signing, which is silly because he's only been playing for like 10 odd games. I know it's Barnsley, but he scored a hat-trick in the Cup, he's got a goal and an assist, he's demonstrated some lovely bits of skills along the way, but yes, sometimes he's been underwhelming, which everyone's been like, fine, he's just joined Chelsea, that's totally fine, but he's obviously had a stinker against Everton, and like, oh no, this isn't fine, let's start criticising Kai Havertz. Now it's frustrating, because yes, the caveats are caveats, but they're important, you need to know the situation, yes, it was Chelsea's record signing, and let me just say for a second, Chelsea have been incredibly intelligent with signings the last 2 seasons, granted the season before they couldn't make signings, but since Kovacic and Pulisic basically, and this new regime at Chelsea have been really intelligent with signings. Now listen, Chelsea didn't need to buy Kai Havertz. They had attacking midfielders, they bought right wingers, they bought everyone they needed, they didn't need Kai Havertz, yet they broke their transfer record on him. This is not Kepa Arrizabalaga last minute in the window release clause when Thibaut Courtois refuses to train, and Chelsea freak out and they're like, oh my god, go and just buy someone. Chelsea had plenty of time when they were scouting him, looking at him, thinking about it. They didn't need him, yet they broke their transfer record on him. What does that tell you? That tells you Chelsea have taken up a massive opportunity here to get one of the most highest rated talents in European and indeed world football. There are many around the world of football and analysis and coaching that think Kai Havertz has the ability to be a top 3 player in the world in the few years to come. Chelsea saw that and they bought him. It's a similar situation with Eden Hazard. Chelsea didn't really need to buy Eden Hazard, but United wanted him, some other clubs wanted him, and they were like, you know what, we have the opportunity to buy him, let's go and buy him. And of course, when it comes to Hazard, the rest is history. It's silly to judge Kai Havertz on these moments there, especially when he's been really ill and he's just touched down and he's a youngster. So I think a lot of people have to be a little bit more responsible, offer time, judge him this time next season before you gain the whole scope of what this player can offer to Chelsea, especially at such a young age. The truth is, he's got immense talent. He can float around the pitch, he glides, he can score with both feet, he's got a wicked left boot, he's tall, he can score headers, he can play down the middle and in midfield. Hell, he can even put in loads of positive slide tackles, which we've seen. But generally, it does look like he needs to adapt to the speed and physicality of the Premier League, not get bodied off the ball, release the ball quicker because you don't have that much time on the ball, in the Premier League, something that perhaps Timo Werner's dealt with a little bit more. I'm pretty pleased with Timo Werner in terms of his speed and dealing with the physicality of the Premier League. He doesn't look like he's bothered with it. Timo Werner's problems lie elsewhere at the moment in terms of finishing. He's missed a few sitters, but getting into the positions fine is what I'm trying to say. I'm not at all worried about Timo Werner, but we have to be patient with Kai Havertz. Frank Lampard trusts him and he thinks he's going to be a quality player, so he's been right about everything else so far. Let's back him on this. Anyway, that's it for today's video. If you've enjoyed the content, please do drop a like. It means a lot. Consider subscribing to Football Therapy if you're new to the experience. There's daily uploads, of course, sometimes 2 uploads in one day. Other than that, boys and girls, I'm out, so enjoy the football, and I'll see you later.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo, chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me, baby.